On December the 1st, 1948, the body of a man was discovered on the Somerton Park beach in an area just south of Adelaide, Australia. Sitting in the sand with his back against the seawall and his legs outstretched in front of him, he appeared at first glance to just be sleeping. However, on closer inspection, he was found to be deceased. No identification was found on him, and no one in the area reported knowing him. He simply became known as the Somerton Man. Pictures and fingerprints of him were circulated in Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom, and other regions. However, no one ever came forward to identify him. It seemed that the more that the police attempted to make an identification of the Somerton Man, the more of a puzzle that he became. The only clues about the mysterious man that could be found were in his pockets, which contained an unused second-class rail ticket from Adelaide to Henry Beach, a bus ticket, an aluminum comb that was made in the USA, a half-empty pack of juicy fruit chewing gum, an Army Club cigarette packet with 7 cigarettes of a different brand inside of it, and a quarter-full pack of Bryant and May matches. The tags were cut out of his clothing, and he had no wallet. Physically, the man appeared to be around 40 to 45 years old, was 5 feet 11 inches tall, had fair to ginger-colored hair with gray at his temples. He was broad-shouldered with a small waist and had very pronounced calf muscles, like those of someone who normally wore shoes with a heel or was a dancer, and most unusually, his toes met in a wedge shape, like those of a ballet dancer. The man was very well dressed and was wearing shoes that appeared to have been very recently polished and showed no signs of having walked in the sand. On January 14, 1949, a brown suitcase was discovered at the Adelaide railway station that was believed to have belonged to the mysterious man. The label on the suitcase had been removed, and the identification marks on the clothing within it had been cut out. It appeared that the Somerton Man had taken extensive measures to hide his identity. 2 couples came forward and told the police that they believed that they saw the man on the beach the evening prior to his body's discovery. The first couple stated that they saw him sitting by the seawall with his arm extended far into the air. They said that they thought that he was acting strangely, but assumed that he was just intoxicated. The other couple saw a man fitting the Somerton Man's description in the same location that his body was found. They stated that they didn't see him moving and thought that he was possibly asleep or passed out from drinking too much. Later, another witness came forward and said that on the night of November the 30th, they had seen a very well-dressed man carrying another man on his shoulders on the beach. At the time, they thought that it was very strange, but didn't report it to police until later. After an autopsy was performed on the Somerton Man, the pathologist stated that it was his belief that he had possibly ingested an undetectable poison. Many of his organs contained blood, and his spleen was found to be 3 times the size of that of a normal person. Whether or not his death was homicide or suicide was unclear. Since there was still no positive identification made of the man, the police made a plaster cast of his head and torso, hoping that it could be used in the future to help identify him. After looking closer at the man's clothing, it was found that his pants had a small pocket sewn into them that contained a very small piece of paper that was pushed deeply into it. The paper contained only 2 words, "Tamam shud," which is a Persian phrase meaning it is ended. By a stroke of luck, one of the investigators recognized the phrase as coming from the last page of a book called the Rubaiyat, which was a book of poetry about living life to its fullest and having no regrets when we die. Police published ads in newspapers across Australia, searching for a copy of the Rubaiyat that had a piece of the very last page torn out. A man saw one of the ads and remembered finding a copy of the book in the floorboard of his vehicle after he had left it unlocked one day. He looked in the book, and to his surprise, part of the last page was torn out. There are differing reports on exactly when the book was found by the man. One states that it was found 1 to 2 weeks before the Somerton Man was found deceased, and another states that it was found just after the man's remains were located on the beach. The book was very closely examined by investigators who were searching for anything to lead them to the Somerton Man's identity. What they found only left more questions. Indentations were found in the back of the book that seemed to be 5 lines of text, all in capital letters. The text didn't form any words, and it was believed that they were a code of some kind. Also found was a phone number belonging to a local nurse named Jo Thomson, a woman who lived just 1,300 feet from where the Somerton Man's body was found. When interviewed by police, Ms. Thomson stated that she did not know the deceased man. However, when she was shown the plaster bust taken of him, she was said to have almost fainted. When asked about the copy of the Rubaiyat that had her number on it, she said that she had owned a copy of the book while working at a hospital in Sydney during World War II, and gave the copy to a man named Alf Boxall, who was an Australian Army lieutenant at the time. The police believed that Alf Boxall might be the Somerton Man. However, Mr. Boxall was located and was very much alive and still in possession of the book given to him by Miss Thomson. Strangely, the police found that Miss Thomson had written out verse 70 in the front of the book and signed her name, Jestin, with a capital J-E. Once again, no answers were found, only more questions. While the police believed that Miss Thomson knew more about the situation than she was admitting, they had no proof and were at a standstill in the investigation. With no answers as to who the Somerton Man was, rumors began to swirl about his identity. It was believed by some that he was a spy. Others believed that it was possible that the man was involved in the black market, which was the illegal selling of rationed goods for money. If this was true, it wasn't likely that those that knew or worked with him would come forward for fear of being implicated for similar crimes. Another popular theory was that Miss Thomson knew exactly who the Somerton Man was, and for reasons unknown, would simply not admit it. With no answers in sight, the Somerton Man was buried in Adelaide on June 14, 1949. Years later, a woman that was a receptionist at a hotel opposite the Adelaide railway station told police that the Somerton Man had possibly stayed at the hotel she worked at around the time of his death. The man had checked out of the hotel on November 30th, 1948, the same day that the Somerton Man was possibly spotted on the beach acting strangely. She said that the man was English-speaking and carrying a small black suitcase, like something that a doctor might carry. Another employee of the hotel had looked inside of the suitcase and reportedly told the woman that there was something that resembled a needle inside of it. Whether or not this was truly the Somerton Man, we will probably never know. Through the years, military and naval intelligence, and even mathematicians, have attempted to crack the code at the end of the Rubaiyat book. To this day, it still remains a mystery. In November of 2013, relatives of Jo Thomson gave interviews to the television show 60 Minutes. Kate Thomson, Jo's daughter, stated that her mother had told her that she had lied to police. She stated that she did know the identity of the Somerton Man and that his identity was known to a level higher than the police force. Kate stated that she believed that it was possible that her mother and the Somerton Man were both spies. She noted that her mother was interested in communism, could speak Russian, and taught English to migrants. Kate said that her mother would never tell her where she had learned to speak Russian or why. Jo Thomson's son Robin had passed away by the time of the interview, but his wife Roma and daughter Rachel stated that they believed that Robin was the Somerton Man's son and Rachel was his granddaughter. If this is true, Jo Thomson not only knew the Somerton Man, but had a child with him. On May 19, 2021, the Somerton Man's body was exhumed for DNA analysis. Perhaps soon, the mystery of the Somerton Man can be solved, and he can finally rest in peace. Thank you for watching Twisted Willow Pictures. Until next time, sweet dreams.